I want to tell you about a pattern that destroys empaths' lives. And I know this pattern intimately because I have been in it for many years and I have been releasing it day by day, moment by moment this year. And it is an ongoing process for me. So you're going to really be receiving some on-the-go tips of how I am dealing with this pattern. And this pattern is the good girl one, the good girl pattern. It is something that I only recently connected to being an empath. And this is because the good girl patterning is really about making everybody else happy rather than focusing on your own happiness. And that is usually to be accepted, liked, approved of, etc. And we receive this patterning from our culture generally and our societies. And this is something that generally women will have. Of course, men have it as well, but I'm speaking particularly to a woman's experience, a girl's experience, because we often are trained to behave in a way that is keeping in line with the expectations of who we are as women, and being the woman that that follows all of the rules and does all of the things that her parents approve of, right? So we don't get rejected from the tribe, etc., etc. But as an empath, this actually is 10x'd, because not only are you thinking about disappointing people, you actually feel other people's disappointment, or you feel the tension that is in their body when you don't do something that they want you to do, or when you disappoint them, or when there's something that occurs that creates some kind of friction. And so not only is there a sense of disappointment, but there is an actual feeling. And so this pattern, the good girl pattern, embeds itself quite firmly into empaths. And this is what I really want to speak to today. Like the why and the how of what it is that, why we want to actually remove this from our lives, and what it takes to actually do that, because it is not an easy thing. Trust me, it's an ongoing process. So the reason the good girl patterning gets embedded into empaths is because there is an overemphasis on caring about what other people feel, and you start living for their comfort instead of living for your own liberation and freedom. So you are creating primacy for the comfort of others rather than your own inner freedom. And when you think about this, it actually doesn't make full, complete, rational sense. For sure, when we were younger and we didn't have the ability to, say, fend for ourselves, feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, shelter ourselves, it may have made more sense to step in line with the tribe, step in line with who it is that we have to follow in terms of authority figures. But when we're grown adults, this makes less sense. Our liberation and our sovereignty actually are far more powerful and lead to far more amazing results in the world. Like, you will know that entrepreneurs and high achieving people like you watching this will have had to have stepped outside of some of the expectations of society in order to be where you are yourself. So you know the value of your inner liberation. You know the value of establishing your sovereignty. So this needs to start taking primacy over ensuring that other people's comfort is maintained. So I experienced this when I stepped into the world of running my own business over 10 years ago now. When I left my corporate career working in international aid and development, I had to endure a lot of people's projected discomfort over my move and their own internalized fear of what they thought of going out on your own and having to fend for yourself and having to create cash flow and having to still pay your real life bills like mortgages and insurance and all of the above. all of these things were loaded upon me. And as an empath and as a recovering good girl, I really had to move through this in a very, it was quite a sticky way. I found it to be quite confronting when I did this. But my goodness, on the other side of that, on the other side of that discomfort and that sensation of people's feeling like, oh, I don't know about this move, or maybe even disappointment. On the other side of that was my own soul's liberation, and the path that I have walked since, while not being the easiest path, of course, it has been the most, without a doubt, the most rewarding path that you can walk as a human. So the next reason why the good girl pattern is so embedded in the empath experience and why we need to shift it is that we can sense when we are making other people look or feel like they're less than, right? Because in our capitalist paradigm in particular, that competitive edge and competitive tendency that is just part of what we swim in. Now, I don't believe we should be in that kind of space. I don't think that it is necessary to be in this linear better than, worse than kind of space, but we receive the patterning of the capitalist paradigm. And we then go, oh, okay, well, so what if I was to follow my dream? What if I was to start outshining or being better than, doing so well in the world? Then those around me might reject me. Those around me might feel less than. And I don't want to feel that sensation of them feeling less than, because you will feel that sense of the inferiority or the whatever it is that they're inhabiting, that people around you are inhabiting in relation to you stepping into your brilliance, you stepping out of the people-pleasing mode and into more and more of the truth of who you are. That sense of imbalance and of guilt at outshining somebody else can make you shrink, can make you dim your light. And then you end up imprisoning yourself once again in the good girl patterning, right? So it can be extremely uncomfortable to continue to hit heights of your dreams coming true or desires coming to fruition that you've long held within your body and you're held within your your Pinterest board, whatever it is that you really dreamed to hit. And when you actually allow for yourself to move outside of the expectations of others and be okay with them being uncomfortable with their, perhaps they haven't followed their dreams, perhaps they haven't allowed for their deepest, truest desires to be front and foremost within their own lives. And that discrepancy is uncomfortable. So are you willing to be with that? Are you willing to allow for your brilliance? Are you willing to allow for your brilliance and release that sense of guilt that you have where you might be in that space of the spotlight or shining more in the world and less so a part of that sort of disappearing into that tribe of connection that you've previously felt? Because if you don't follow this deeper sense of your purpose, this deeper sense of what it is that's calling you to do that might be a bit beyond the circle that you're currently in, you are going to be building resentment. You are going to have missed opportunities that are actually for you. And you're going to have this sense of chronic fatigue from just performing goodness and performing this ordinariness or in training with what it is that your tribe is currently exuding, as opposed to stepping out of that. And there's a reason they call it tall poppy syndrome, right? Like, especially in one of the countries that I'm from, Australia, that lopping off of the head of those who outshine. It's a thing, but let me tell you, it's even more painful to just keep in line with that good girl patterning and not listening to your soul. It will eventually become far more painful. And the third thing I want to speak to on this good girl patterning and being an empath is the one question that I have put front and foremost in my unraveling from this pattern, in my sort of awareness raising within myself that I even have this pattern, and how I've started to unpick it, is being with the question or living the question, am I okay with being misunderstood? And just within that, I can move through the discomfort of being somebody that maybe is put up as a pariah or potentially cancelled or potentially rejected from a group, or potentially whatever your nightmare scenario is, insert it here. But I was able to arrive in a place of, yeah, I think most of the time, again, like I said, I'm still living this as a process, as an unraveling. I am willing to be misunderstood, because I firmly believe that any judgment that anybody has upon me, my actions, and my life will always be tinged with the lens that they are looking through. It will be tinged with their own limiting beliefs, it will be tinged with their own judgments, their own discernments, their own stories, their own patterns. So if I'm living my life completely in accordance with what the expectations or what I perceive the expectations are of others, and I am unwilling to experience their disappointment or experience their sense of projection on me, then I begin to perform again. I perform good girl. I perform whatever it is that I think they not want and need, rather than truly tapping into what feels right in this moment. What does my soul actually want to do in these moments? And potentially that's going to disappoint people. Potentially that's going to make other people feel a certain way, feel a sense of inferiority, superiority, whatever it is. They're going to feel something. I may have to also feel that thing, and I'm okay with it. I am okay with experiencing other people's disappointment, because I have chosen what is right for me in this moment. It might not look right, it might seem mad, it might seem utterly crazy, but I've come to know that honoring what it is that truly feels right for me in a moment is the key to unraveling that good girl patterning, and being okay with the ramifications of how other people feel or don't feel about me. And honestly, for most of the time, people don't actually think about you all as much as what you think they do. But in the case where they do, that you're okay, that I'm okay with feeling that disappointment that people are experiencing, and moving through it. And it's that ability to move through the discomfort, or even have uncomfortable conversations. And I'm not a huge fan of confrontation, but I've begun to be so much more comfortable with uncomfortable conversations or uncomfortable expression, where it's not just about making it look as though everything is fine, or trying to make somebody else feel better. Of course, I like to be diplomatic. Of course, I like to keep in my heart other people's senses and feelings, but I am no longer shape-shifting and being that master manipulator self, manipulating myself to fit in with whatever other people are expecting of me, or what I think other people expect of me. And instead, I attune into what it is that feels like the right path for me. And in doing that, I choose the path of freedom. I choose the path of sovereignty. I choose the path of liberation. And this is the key to tapping into your empath superpower and saying goodbye to the good girl patterning that may have been running your life up until now. I hope this has really helped you. I hope that there has been some little gem in this for you that you can begin to apply straight away in your own life. If you would like a free guided audio to learn what it is to feel into your own body, your own sense of energy, just tap into the link below in the description. Tune Out the World, Tune Into You is the name of the guided audio. It's free. Pop it over your ears and let yourself attune into more of your own fabulous energy. Sending you so much love and thank you so much for joining me. Mwah. Bye.